Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 10, The Battle Between the Demigods and Vritrasura, verse number 29 till 33, the end of the chapter. Only one verse has purport, and that we will chant. I'll read 29 by myself. Te swaprayasam vitatham nirikshya harava bhakta hatayuddha darpaha palayanayaji mukhe visrijya patim manaste dadurattasaraha. Translation: The Asuras, who are never devotees of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, lost their pride in fighting when they found all their endeavors futile. Leaving aside their leader, even in the very beginning of the fight, they decided to flee because all their prowess had been taken away by the enemy. Verse number 30. Vrito suram stananugan manasvi pradhavata prekshya babhasha etat palayitam prekshya balam cha bhagnam bhayena tivrena vihasya viraha. Seeing his army broken, and all the asuras, even those known as great heroes, fleeing the battlefield out of intense fear, Vritrasura, who was truly a great-minded hero, smiled and spoke the following words. Verse number 31. Kalopapanam ruchiram manasvinam jagadavacham purusha praviraha he viprachitte namuche puloman maya narvam cham chambaramesh shrunudhvam. Translation: According to his position and the time and circumstances, Vritrasura, the hero among heroes, spoke words that were much to be appreciated by thoughtful men. He called to the heroes of the demons, Viprachitta, O Viprachitna, O Namuchi, O Puloma, O Maya, O Maya, Anarva, and Sambara. Please hear me and do not flee. Verse number 32, we will chant. Jatasya mrityur dhruva eva sarvataha pratikriya yasya nacheha klipta loko yashaschatha tato yadihi amum ko nama mrityum navranita yuktam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Vritrasura said, all living entities who have taken birth in this material world must die. Surely no one in this world has found any means to be saved from death. Even Providence has not provided a means to escape it. Under the circumstances, death being inevitable, if one can gain promotion to the higher planetary systems and be always celebrated here by dying a suitable death, what man will not accept such a glorious death? Purport: If by dying one can be elevated to a higher planetary systems and be ever famous after his death, who is so foolish that he will refuse such a glorious death. Similar advice was given by Krishna to Arjuna. My dear Arjuna, the Lord said, do not desist from fighting. If you gain victory in the fight, you will enjoy a kingdom. And even if you die, you will be elevated to heavenly planets. Everyone should be ready to die while performing glorious deeds. A glorious person is not meant to meet death like cats and dogs. We'll read the next verse. That's the last verse that has also no purport. Dvau sammatta viha mrityu durapau yad brahma sandharanaya jitasuhu kalevaram yoga rato vijahyad yad agranir virashaye nivrittaha. There are two ways to meet a glorious death, and both are very rare. One is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force and die absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is to die on the battlefield, leading the army and never showing one's back. These two kinds of death are recommended in the Shastra as glorious. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 6th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and Vritrasura. So this is the chapter, the concluding portion of the chapter, the battle between the Devatas, demigods, and Vritrasura and his army. And in this section, we are seeing how Vritrasura's army are realizing that this is a losing battle. They are not going to be saved, because on the other side, in the previous verses we read how they were raining arrows and different weapons which were having no effect on the Devatas. The Devatas were counteracting it in the sky by their arrows and their... These can be on. So when the demons saw that their weapons are having no effect and nothing has happened to the Devatas, they are perfectly okay. No injury has happened to them, so they become a little fearful and worried. And the reason why the Devatas were protected, because Krishna was with them. So from this verse onwards, we see they are retracting. They are running away from the battlefield. And here Prabhupada writes, this is the translation, the Asuras who were never devotees of Lord Krishna lost their pride in fighting when they found all their endeavors futile. So this is an important point. All our endeavors will be futile if it is for personal sense gratification, if it is not for pleasing the Lord's senses. If Lord is not with you, no matter how much we endeavor, it will all be a futile. So we must always remember this, that always, all the time, we must be thinking of the Lord, we must be thinking about the Lord's service. The moment we get disconnected from the Lord, even for a moment, all the endeavor that we are putting in efforts not connected with the Lord, in achieving something not connected with the Lord, all the endeavors will be futile. So here, they're all running away from the battle, and at that time, Vritrasura, who was truly a great-minded hero. Now here there is an interesting interest. Vritrasura is said to be the hero of the heroes, because we know Vritrasura, he was a great devotee, and we'll see that in the next class. It will begin Chitraketu's history. And the demons are described as hero of the demons. Hero of the heroes is Vritrasura, although he's the head of the head of the demons, but he's hero of the hero because he's not he's not a demon actually. He's in the demon body this life. And so here, the verse that we read was, so he is calling out to all his army men that why are you running away from this battlefield? They were running away because they were all afraid of death. And Vritrasura is saying, why are you running away? Why are you afraid of death? We all have to embrace death one day or the other. So something that is surely, something that we're going to meet surely, death is something that we're going to meet surely, as sure as death, as the maxim goes. So why are you worried? Because anyway you have to face this. So instead he is saying, better die in the battlefield, because this is a glorious death. Because if you die in the battlefield, you gain promotion to the higher planetary system and be always celebrated here by dying a suitable death. So which man will not accept such a glorious death? And Prabhupada writes in the purport that a similar advice was also given by Krishna to Arjuna. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyarthe. He says, therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duties, you should not avoid your duties, because death is sure. Person who is born is sure to die, and after death, there is birth again. So, do not retract in the discharge of your duties. That is what Krishna tells to Arjuna, and that is what is mentioned here. Everyone should be ready to die while performing glorious deeds, and glorious person is not meant to meet death like cats and dogs. So, in the purport, in the last part of the in this passage, Prabhupada is writing, or it is mentioned here, there are two glorious ways to meet death. We all meet death, but if you can meet death in one of these ways, that is very glorious. So what are the two glorious ways of meeting death? And it is written here, both are very rare. Both are glorious and both are rare. The first way to die, to meet death, is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force, and die absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the first way to die. Janma labha parapumsam ante narayana smritihi. If somehow we can remember the Lord at the time of dying, that is a glorious death. So that is the first way of, that is a glorious death. And that is what we are all supposed to be practicing. Bhakti yoga means conditioning the mind. Right now our mind is conditioned materially. The whole life is a practice how to condition our mind so that we can remember Lord at the time of death. That is why it is said, suppose you say, yes, I am trying to condition my mind very nicely. I am trying to remember the Lord. So all these things will be tested at the time of death. Bhajan karo, sadhan karo, morte janle hoy. Whatever bhajan sadhan you are doing, all will be tested at the time of death, because what is the test? Are you able to remember the Lord at the time of them? Janma labha parapumsam, the highest attainment of this human life. On this human, pumsa means human life, is whether you can remember the Lord at the time of death. So that's the first glorious way of dying. And the second glorious way to die is, the second is to die in the battlefield. And this is what Vritrasura is telling to all his army. The second is to die on the battlefield, leading the army and never showing one's back. These two kinds of death are recommended in the Shastras as glorious. You die in the battlefield, don't be fearful. If you win the battle, you'll enjoy a flourishing kingdom because you won the battle. The kingdom belongs to you. And if you die in a battlefield, you go to the heavenly planets. So we prepare for which death? To die in the battlefield or to die absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna in Bhakti Yoga? We prepare for both kinds of death. How is it? The first one is clear, that we die preparing, we are preparing, we are engaging in Bhakti Yoga so that we can think of Krishna at the time of death. That's the first glorious death. And the second way also, this material world, Prabhupada, material world is like a battlefield. We have waged a war against Maya. And this preaching is the greatest, it's the greatest battle that we have taken up because we are directly fighting with Maya, because Maya's duty is to keep conditioned souls entrapped in this material world. And our duty is to release the conditioned soul who are entrapped in this material world, take them back to Godhead, make them surrender to the spiritual master, so that spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, can take them back to Godhead. So we are also fighting a war. In one letter, Prabhupada writes very nicely, and he specifically preaching is a battle that we have waged, and we are fighting with Maya. But specifically, Prabhupada pointed out in one letter, the battle that we are engaged in is, and he specifically refers to book distribution. I'll read that letter. There is no doubt about it. To distribute books is our most important activity. The temple is not a place meant for eating and sleeping, but the temple is a base from which we send out our soldiers to fight with Maya. Fight with Maya means what? It means to drop thousands and millions of books into the lap of the conditioned souls. Just like during wartime, the bombs are raining from the sky like anything. So Prabhupada is saying, just like the bombs rain from the sky, similarly we have to distribute these. And he described his books as time bombs. He said, you just distribute a book and you don't know when it will explode. We have had so many devotees have had so many experiences how they gave a book. At that time, sometimes it may not. Time bomb means at some time it will explode. We don't know when. Sometimes it explodes immediately. When you give it to someone, he reads and becomes a devotee. But sometimes they just keep it in the shelf, and sometimes later it explodes. They read it and they realize it. So, we are so blessed. There are two glorious ways of dying, and a devotee is blessed in preparing for death in both these ways. So, when we talk of death, now here in this verse, Vritrasura is calling his army, why are you running away from death? Why they were running away from death? Because they were fearful. There are two important points to remember when we talk of death, especially in the context of the situation of Kali Yuga today. The first thing is, people in the material world are so ignorant that this most important thing, as it is said, as sure as death, they are least bothered about it. They are living happily a life of sense gratification, even though they know that they are going to meet death. They are not concerned. Oh, death, we will see later. Now enjoy life. Eat, drink, be merry, happy. But Bhakti Yoga teaches us no. That is why when it was Yudhishthir Maharaj who asked, Yamaraj who asked Yudhishthir Maharaj, what is the most wonderful thing in the world, or what is the most astonishing thing in the world, the most striking thing in the world? Yudhishthir Maharaj replied, Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti ha yamalayam sheshaha sthavaram icchanti kimascharyam atah param. What can be more striking? That every day of ahani bhutani gacchanti ha yamalayam. Every day after day, conditioned souls are dying, going to the planet of Yamalok, And although everyone is seeing that someone is dying, seeing that the family members, the relatives are dying, people who have not yet met death are thinking they will never die, are thinking they will live forever. So we must all realize human form of life is meant to prepare for death. Janma labha parah pumsam ante narayana smriti. The whole human life. We are having so many plans in this human form of, in this body, in this life. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll engage in this, we'll have a good education, we'll have a good degree, we'll have good bank balance, we'll have this, we'll all very nice. But are we are planning for a security, we are planning for life, so many things we are planning. Are we planning for what will I do after I meet death? No plans. Because we have no idea about this. That's why Krishna starts this Bhagavad Gita with this ABC instruction to Arjuna: you are not the body, you are spirit, soul. So in Kali Yuga, we are so degraded, so fallen, that we do not have this even basic knowledge that I am a spirit soul, I am eternal. The soul has no end. So what am I doing for my actual journey, my future journey? This life is just very, very short. So that's the first thing, that we have to plan, we have to prepare. And the second thing, although we are not planning, not preparing, and we are just happily living, one day suddenly when we realize that, oh, I'm going to meet death, of course you won't even realize. Death will come before you realize also. That's why death, any moment it can come. But sometimes, most of the time when we become old, or when we are attacked by a disease and we know that this is terminal illness, or we are suddenly facing something in a situation that we know that we are going to die, at that time we become very afraid. So either we are least bothered about death, and when death comes, we become very afraid. This is what has happened here to all the demons. They are running away. Why? Because they are afraid. So no one can say, unless he is a devotee, that I am fearless. Only a devotee is fearless of death. Isn't that a wonderful thing? That's why devotional service means planning how to meet death. When we talk about death, or when we talk about these topics, sometimes people say, why are you being pessimistic? Why you are not? Let us not talk about death. These are all inauspicious things. Let us talk about auspicious things. There is nothing auspicious in this material world actually for a person who is intelligent. Ei bhalo, ei manda, sab mana brahma. In this material world, good is bad, bad is anyway bad, and the good is also bad. So we are so much in illusion that something that is for sure we are going to meet, something that is for sure we are going to face, we are oblivious, we are just living in an illusory world. That's why it says this is the biggest ignorance in this material world. So, now why are we fearful about death? And why do they consider it as inauspicious? Because they are fearful. So anything fearful is inauspicious. But because they are in ignorance, they are thinking like this. And the fear comes off because of the pain that they will go through at death. Right? The bodily pain. There are two kinds of pain that we go through at death. One is the pain that we will go through, the body, the prana leaving the body. And if he's an impious soul, sinful soul, it's a severe pain. The pain of the soul separating from the body, that pain. And the second pain is the pain of separation from the family members, the pain of separation from all that I have built and considered it to be mine in this material world, my assets, my good degrees and my job and my opulence, the pain of that separation. So it is basically attachment to this material world, attachment to the body, and attachment to all that I have created. Fear of losing that is the fear that we face at death. So that is why Bhakti Yoga means developing detachment from all these things. Because all these things are material. And all these things, why we should develop detachment? No, why should not I have attachment? No, you should not have attachment because these are all temporary, these are all illusory. Because in the span of life which is eternal, what is this attachment to things that we are possessing for the short span of 30, 40 or 50 or even 100 years? It is nothing. It is like you're given something to enjoy and then you're told, no, now you have to give it back. Before even you could enjoy, you're being told to give it back. So you'll not be attached to it. So in a span of life which is spanning millions of years, billions of years, eternal, not even millions of billions, 100 years is nothing but a short-lived life. And this is what Krishna is teaching in the Bhagavad Gita. That and the entire Bhagavatam. We have come to this material world with a very specific purpose, in this human form of life. All along this life, we have been circumambulating in this 84 lakh species of life, up and down traversing. And we have been developing attachment for so many things. Now in this human form of life, the knowledge that we have to gain is how to develop detachment from all these things. So that at death, you are perfectly situated to go back to the spiritual world. Even if we have an iota of attachment for anything in this material world, we are for sure going to come back to this material world. So for a devotee, there is no fear of death because he has been trained how to develop detachment. He knows everything here is temporary. Intelligence means don't develop attachment for anything temporary. Intelligence means develop attachment for that which is permanent. So our permanent place, our permanent family, our permanent opulences, everything is there in the spiritual world, not in the material world. I give you 10 lakh rupees. You'll be very happy in my bank balance, 10 lakh rupees has come. And before you can withdraw it, it has been, to use it for your spending, for your grass, for your sin. You see, it has all disappeared. What is the value of that 10 lakh rupees in your bank account? In the same way, what is this, that we are attached to? Because this attachment and even this enjoyment is not enjoyment, really. Because enjoyment means, enjoyment should not result in further entanglement in this material world. So even if we gain some material assets or material wealth or something big, and if you try to enjoy them disconnected with Krishna, it is further entangling you in the material world. That is why it is said, Ei bhalo, ei manda, sab mana brahma. It is all a mental concoction because there is nothing good in the material world, disconnected from Krishna. So that is why constantly we should be thinking of Krishna, constantly we should be thinking of serving Krishna, constantly we should be thinking how Krishna is pleased, because for a moment, Krishna is outside our purview, Krishna is out of our mind. That is entanglement, that is further entangling you in this material world. So devotees are free from this fear because they have no attachment for this material world, and they know, and because they have developed attachment for Krishna, they have no attachment for these things, and when their soul is leaving the body, there is no pain at all. A devotee meets a painless death. Actually, painless death is an understatement. A devotee meets a glorious death. And that is what we'll see in the Vritrasura chapter, a glorious death, not just free from pain, but there's pleasure for a devotee because he's leaving this temporary, miserable world, dukkhalayam ashashvatam, full of janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. He's leaving this and going to the spiritual world. Just like when we give up our old clothes, is there pain in giving up our old clothes? No, because we are taking on new pair of clothes. Bright, new. So, same way. So, here we see the demons are fleeing away from death. From the battlefield because they are fearful of death. So death is very fearful for those who are not devotees. So if we also want to be fearless, we must prepare for this inevitable situation that we all have to meet, that is death. I heard once somebody speaking, death is like a surprise test. What is a surprise test? Surprise test means any moment it can come. Death is like that. It's a surprise test any moment. Actually, it is said, Prabhupada in one lecture very nicely explains, we are all on the threshold of death. Everyone, even a child is on the threshold of death. Old man is anyway on a threshold of death. But we should not think, I am hale and hearty, or death we will see. Threshold. Threshold means any moment. Threshold means, that threshold. You can be this side or this side. So if you go that side, it's death. So can any one of us say that I will not die? Just see how the war happened recently and so many people died. It just happened in a matter of few days. And not just war, disease, accident, so many different ways we can die. So, now why surprise test? When the test is given, you have to pass in the test. Now how do you pass in the test? You should be able to remember your subjects. If you're able to remember your subjects and you write the paper with whatever question is asked, then you pass the test. So similarly, death is a surprise test because when death comes, we should also remember our subject. What is our subject? Krishna. Ante Narayana Smritihi. So that is why Bhakti Yoga means, the practice of Bhakti Yoga means every moment we are engaged in the devotional service so that I can remember Krishna. And Prabhupada has given us this chanting of this Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If we can chant nicely, Prabhupada says, even if you will be able to remember Krishna if you're chanting nicely. You may not be able to chant Krishna's name when you're passing away, depending upon your situation, your physiological situation, your situation of the body. But if a devotee has chanted properly, nicely, all throughout the life, at the end of life, you will be able to remember. So the way to remember Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, everywhere it is written, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. And so many places, Mat Chitta, Sarva Durgani, Mat Prasadat. So many places Krishna talks about remembering Krishna. This remembering Krishna in Kali Yuga is possible by chanting Hare Krishna very nicely. So chanting Hare Krishna and doing all our devotional service with full attention, remembering that I am serving the Lord. And every small service, every day morning we come to the temple and we engage in the bhajans and kirtans. And then in the morning darshana, and we circumambulate the deities. We must not forget, we must not minimize any aspect of devotional service. Every aspect of devotional service is so important. I was reading one pastime, one memory, recollection, one devotee saying, when Prabhupada built the Krishna Balram temple, so Prabhupada would go and circumambulate the Krishna Balram deities along with all the devotees, just like we do here. And later during the day also we do any time that we come. So Prabhupada said, by circumambulating Krishna Balaram, the temple, you will stop traversing in the 84 lakh species of life. You will escape death. Simply by doing parikrama of the deities, we are planning to go back to the spiritual world. So that is the power of devotional service. So devotees should, engage in these devotional service very seriously. It all depends on the quality with which you are doing. If you do devotional service with good quality, quality is what matters. All of us are doing devotional service and all of us are planning to go back to Godhead. And we will surely go back to Godhead, but in this life. And that will happen only if your attachment for this material world has become zero. And that is not difficult. It is possible. It is very easy because we have a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. We have surrendered to a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has promised us that I will take you back to Godhead. The only thing is that as disciples, we should be sincere, we should be serious in our devotional service, if we are sincere and serious, we will surely go back to Godhead in this lifetime. We'll close here. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.